Today is Monday, Parashat Aharei Kedoshim. This coming Shabbat, we're going to read two parashiot again. First parasha is Aharei. It's a parasha that portions of it actually read also on Yom Kippur, portion of it in the morning and a portion of it in the afternoon. Kedoshim is the second parasha, and the second parasha, which is Kedoshim, means holy. This is when Hashem tells us in the parasha of this week that commands us to be holy. Kedoshim to you. So how could a person become holy? You think, some people might think that to become holy is to dedicate yourself only to spiritual pursuits, not to be involved with any people, not with society, to be somewhere in an ivory tower, separate from any activity that has to do with whether it is business or relations with people around you. Actually, no. The Torah that speaks about Kedoshim to you is a parasha that has so many mitzvot, ben Adam lachavero, between man and his fellow man, to be sensitive to the plight of others, to, for instance, just some of the mitzvot, the idea that you have to pay your employees on time. That if you pay your employees always on the last month of the month, then you pay them on the last of the month. If he's a day laborer, you pay him at the end of the day. If you have a babysitter that works for watching over your kids, then when you come home, and you have to pay right on time, immediately. You don't delay to a later time. There's an interesting halakha that is associated with how serious this mitzvah is in the summer when we start prayer on Friday night early in order to finish at a time that would be convenient for the kids, etc. We start maybe Mincha and Arvit at 6:30. We finish Arvit of Shabbat. We've accepted already Shabbat. Now all the laws of Shabbat apply to us. We cannot do any type of activities that would be forbidden on Shabbat, even though it's still daylight. You go out of the synagogue and the sun is still out there. It's totally daylight. And if you realize that you haven't paid your employee, that you pay him usually, let's say, on Friday, oops, you realize, I haven't paid my employee yet. It's a mitzvah to pay your employee, even though for you Shabbat has started. Since Shabbat has not started for the whole world, and since the mitzvah of paying your employees on time is a mitzvah from the Torah, then that would supersede the fact that you already accepted Shabbat. You would be exempt just for that specific activity of paying your employee to do that. There are many mitzvot in the parasha of this week, again, that have to do between man and his fellow man. Not to put a stumbling block in front of a blind person. And included in that is to be careful what advice you give someone, because if you give him the wrong advice, it's like putting him in a situation where he stumbles. Also, any situation where you might cause some harm to another person, you have to make sure to avoid that. And of course, the idea to judge people b'tzedek, in other words, not to be partial, b'tzedek, tishpot amitecha, that when you judge people, you cannot be partial, you have to be totally impartial. Many mitzvot that have to do, again, between man and his fellow man. You have a mitzvah to correct someone who's doing something wrong, but the way you do it, you have to make sure not to embarrass him, to do it in a way that is out of really a desire to make that person be a better person, not to show him that you know more than him or to put him down in any way. Also, there's a mitzvah here, lo tisna et achicha bilvavecha. Do not hate your fellow Jew in your heart. Even if you haven't harmed him physically, you haven't caused him any damage, but just the fact of harboring ill feelings towards him, that's also forbidden, and that's a mitzvah from the Torah. So this is, we see in the parasha that speaks about Kedoshim to you, that you should be holy. It has to do with how, a lot of it has to do with how you relate to other people. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen.